You're not imagining it. Everything costs more. Your groceries, your rent, your gas, your medicine, all of it is climbing, while your paycheck and your social security check feel frozen in time. You walk into the store with a budget and walk out wondering how the total doubled again. You open your bills and feel that quiet panic creep in, the kind of panic you don't even talk about out loud because you don't want to scare your family. This video isn't just news. This is about your survival, your stability, and your future. Right now, millions of Americans are searching for answers. Is help coming? Is relief real? Or is this just another promise that disappears? And today, there's one number everyone is talking about: $2,000. A possible new stimulus check connected to Social Security discussions that could change the financial breathing room for households across America. But here's the truth: there's confusion everywhere. Some headlines scream confirmed, others say not happening, and people are left stressed, guessing, and hoping. So in this video, we're cutting through the noise. We're breaking down what's real, what's moving behind the scenes, what could impact your wallet next, and the wait for it moment you absolutely need to hear. Because when your money is tight, misinformation is dangerous. Stay with me, because this could affect your next few months more than you think. Why Americans are struggling right now. Let's talk about the real problem facing you and your family right now. The math no longer works. Inflation may not dominate headlines the way it once did, but your daily life tells a different story. Food prices remain elevated. Insurance premiums keep rising. Utilities quietly creep higher every season. Rent renewals shock families who were already stretched thin. Social Security recipients feel this pressure even harder. Many retirees and disabled Americans rely on fixed income that doesn't adjust fast enough to match real-world costs. Even when cost of living increases happen, they often lag behind actual expenses. That means your purchasing power keeps shrinking. The same check buys less every single month. And for working families, wages haven't kept pace either. Many households are using credit cards just to survive, not to splurge, but to buy groceries and gas. Debt quietly stacks up while savings get drained. This is why stimulus conversations never disappear. People aren't asking for luxury. They're asking for stability, for breathing room, for a chance to catch up instead of constantly falling behind. When policymakers debate budgets, you're debating whether you can afford your prescriptions this month. That disconnect fuels frustration and fear. And it's exactly why the idea of a $2,000 stimulus check sparks so much attention. Because even one payment could stabilize rent, pay down debt, restock the fridge, or cover medical costs. But here's where things get complicated: how this financial pressure hits real life. The impact isn't just numbers on paper. It shows up in your stress, your sleep, your relationships, and your health. Families are cutting back on essentials. Seniors are skipping non-urgent doctor visits. Parents are delaying car repairs. People are choosing between bills instead of paying them all. This constant pressure creates anxiety that doesn't shut off when you go to bed. It follows you into every decision you make. And when financial stress builds, it affects the entire economy. Spending slows, small businesses struggle, communities tighten. That's why government leaders continue discussing relief measures, targeted support, and economic stabilization strategies. Social Security recipients are a central part of those discussions because they represent one of the most financially vulnerable populations in the country. A $2,000 payment wouldn't solve everything, but it could create a moment of relief, a pause in panic, a chance to reset. Imagine paying off a lingering bill, rebuilding emergency savings, stocking up on necessities without fear. That's why this update matters so much to your wallet. Where the $2,000 stimulus talk is coming from, the $2,000 figure didn't appear out of nowhere. It comes from ongoing conversations about economic support, inflation relief, and protecting fixed-income Americans. Lawmakers have been examining how rising costs continue to pressure retirees and vulnerable households. Advocacy groups are pushing for stronger financial safety nets. Economists warn that consumer debt levels remain dangerously high. Some proposals focus on direct payments. Others explore expanded credits, benefit boosts, or emergency relief packages. The $2,000 number represents a commonly discussed level that could meaningfully impact household budgets without overwhelming federal budgets in a single payment. However, here's the key: discussion does not mean approval. Momentum does not mean guarantees. That's why accurate understanding is critical. This update is about where the conversation stands, what signals matter most, and what you should realistically expect. What is confirmed versus what is speculation? Let's separate facts from hype. There is no nationwide confirmed release date for a new $2,000 stimulus check at this moment. No official payment calendar has been issued. No final legislation has passed guaranteeing a universal payout. However, there is ongoing policy movement focused on financial relief and Social Security sustainability. Budget negotiations, economic reports, and voter pressure continue shaping these discussions. This means the door is open, but not locked in yet. Speculation spreads fast online because people desperately want good news. But smart financial planning requires clarity, not clicks. If and when something becomes official, it will come through verified government announcements, not rumors. Why Social Security recipients are at the center. Social Security households are uniquely exposed to inflation risk. Fixed income means limited flexibility. Medical expenses tend to rise faster than average inflation. Housing and utilities rarely stabilize. Policymakers understand that when retirees struggle, entire families feel it too. Adult children step in financially, multi-generational households tighten budgets, and healthcare systems face increased strain. Targeted relief for Social Security recipients often gains bipartisan attention because protecting seniors resonates across political lines. That's why any serious stimulus discussion almost always includes Social Security considerations. Moment you need to hear. Here's the part most people miss, and this is the wait for it moment. Relief doesn't always arrive as one massive check. Sometimes it shows up through phased benefits, tax credits, retroactive adjustments, or targeted support programs that quietly increase household cash flow over time. That means even if a $2,000 payment doesn't land exactly as expected, financial relief mechanisms may still activate in other ways that benefit your wallet. Watch the policy details, not just the headline number. How you should prepare financially. Right now. Preparation protects you regardless of what happens next. Track expenses. Reduce high-interest debt when possible. Build even small emergency buffers. Stay informed through credible sources. If relief arrives, use it strategically. Stabilize essentials first, then strengthen long-term security. Smart planning turns temporary help into lasting stability. What could trigger approval movement? Key triggers include economic slowdown signals, election pressure, inflation data shifts, and public advocacy momentum. When consumer strain becomes politically unavoidable, relief accelerates. Pay attention to budget negotiations and economic reports. They often hint at upcoming decisions. Let's recap quickly. Americans are under real financial pressure. Social Security households face rising fixed costs. $2,000 stimulus discussions exist, but are not finalized. Relief may arrive in different formats. Preparation protects your wallet regardless of timing. And now, the final message matters most. Hope isn't blind optimism, it's informed readiness. The system responds when people stay engaged, informed, and vocal. Financial pressure is being noticed. Relief discussions are alive. Your future isn't decided by one headline, it's shaped by awareness and action. How past stimulus payments changed real lives. Before anyone dismisses the idea of another stimulus payment, let's remember what previous relief actually did for real families. When stimulus checks arrived in the past, they didn't disappear into luxury spending. People paid overdue rent. They caught up on utilities that were about to be shut off. Seniors filled prescriptions they had been stretching for months. Parents replaced broken appliances that made daily life harder. For many households, that money wasn't extra. It was survival. It restored dignity during moments when families felt financially trapped. One payment created breathing room, and breathing room creates better decisions. When you're no longer drowning in immediate bills, you can think clearly. You can budget. You can plan. You can avoid predatory lending. Economically, stimulus funds circulated directly into local communities. Grocery stores, pharmacies, repair shops, landlords, transportation services. That ripple effect stabilized neighborhoods and small businesses. Critics often argue about inflation risks, but many economists acknowledge that targeted relief during financial strain prevents deeper economic damage long term. This is why policymakers continue revisiting stimulus ideas, because they've seen the real world impact. For Social Security households especially, even one injection of support can stabilize an entire quarter of expenses. It's not about excess, it's about security. Mini summary: stimulus works when it reaches households who truly need stability. Why retirees and fixed income Americans feel the pain first. If you're living on Social Security, your income doesn't rise when prices surge. Your expenses do. Medical copays climb, prescription costs increase, housing insurance rises, utility bills spike seasonally. Food inflation hits hardest on essentials seniors rely on most. Many retirees budget down to the dollar. There's no flexible margin, no overtime, no bonus. That means unexpected costs, dental work, car repairs, medical devices, immediately become financial emergencies. This vulnerability is exactly why relief discussions center on fixed income Americans. When seniors struggle, families step in financially. That pressure spreads across generations. A $2,000 relief payment could represent months of medication, utility coverage, or rent stability for millions. Mini summary: fixed income magnifies inflation pressure faster than any other household category. The hidden credit card. Crisis most people ignore. Here's a quiet crisis nobody talks about enough. Americans are using credit cards to survive. Groceries on credit, gas on credit, prescriptions on credit. Interest compounds silently while balances grow. Minimum payments increase. Financial stress escalates. This creates long-term damage that lasts far beyond temporary inflation spikes. A relief payment could interrupt this dangerous cycle by allowing families to reduce high-interest debt instead of sinking deeper. Stopping financial bleeding matters more than temporary spending power. Mini summary: debt stress is rising faster than wages. How political timing affects relief decisions. Economic relief doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in political windows. Budget seasons, election cycles, economic reports, and voter pressure accelerate policy decisions. When public financial stress becomes visible enough, lawmakers move faster. That's why staying informed matters. Momentum often builds quietly before major announcements. Mini summary: timing influences policy more than most people realize. What economic signals to watch next? Watch inflation data, consumer debt trends, employment shifts, and federal budget negotiations. These indicators shape relief probability. When household stress rises sharply, intervention becomes more likely. Mini summary: data predicts policy movement. How to protect your wallet while you wait. Control what you can control. Build micro savings. Reduce high interest debt. Negotiate bills. Track spending leaks. Small actions compound into financial resilience. Mini summary: prepared households suffer less during uncertainty. Why this moment matters more than people think. America is quietly reshaping its economic safety net. Demographic shifts, healthcare costs, aging populations, and workforce changes demand new solutions. This isn't just about one payment. It's about future financial stability frameworks. Mini summary: long-term change is underway. Your financial future is not something to ignore. It's something to actively protect. Information gives you leverage. Awareness gives you confidence. Preparation gives you control. If relief arrives, you'll be ready. If delays happen, you'll stay protected. Subscribe for real updates, not hype. Your wallet deserves truth, clarity, and strategy, and this channel delivers exactly that.